Woot. Hey, everybody. Just answering a quick question. You want to know what connectors we have available? Open the launcher, go to the Exchange tab, go here to Connectors, and then you'll see there's a healthy list in there. So let's go ahead and get started. I kind of gave the preamble already, so I'll just give a quick overview here. So we have Terry in St. Louis, Lee in Georgia, Bubba in Maryland, I am in Florida, and we are collaborating to a cloud nucleus server that's sitting somewhere in a data center. And that is the environment that we're working in today. So a couple things about, working in USD, if you're not familiar. So we have all these terms like a payload and a reference and a layer. And although they are different things, they're actually all just USD stages. So if I drag a USD stage into my stage panel, that's a payload or a reference. If I drag it into the layer panel, it's a layer. So the only thing that changes really is the function behind what you can do with that. And today we're going to be really focusing on layers. And so I've put together this terrible diagram. We're going to have me in this top level World Christmas stage. And then I'm going to have two sub-layers, and we're going to have the master architectural layer, and that's going to be Terry working in that layer. And he's going to be doing things like adding materials and doing some look dev. And then the arch layer, which is the source of his, what he's going to be working on. So this came from Max, the arch layer comes from Max, and Terry's in a layer above that, adding changes to my arch layer. So it's very non-destructive in that he's not actually making changes to the file that I sent. He's making changes on top of it that are not going to write back into my original stage. And that's really cool because if I live sync from Max, which I'll do, I can just push to this file all day long, and I'm not going to be overwriting any changes that he makes. So it's very non-destructive. So that's really great. And then we have Lee and Bubba, who are going to be working in the master Christmas tree stage. They're going to be decking out that tree, making it beautiful. And I've added Terry's master arch stage as a sub-layer to that stage so that they can see what Terry's doing too and get the context of the entire stage. The entire scene. But they don't have to have that, right? Actually, they're only really working in this master Christmas tree layer. All right, so that is enough confusion for now. So I'm going to minimize that. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you don't have Omniverse or the launcher or anything like that, plenty of information out there on how to get it. But once you have it, you just download it, install it, go to your Exchange tab. You're going to see Create. Just install that. Definitely going to want to install Nucleus, which allows for collaboration, some other really cool things like checkpoints and things like that. And then once you have those installed, they'll show up in your library and you launch it. And I've modified my user interface, so it's not gonna, yours won't look like this, but I just did this so that I can pull this over on the other screen and we can get more of a full window into what's going on. Okay, that being said here, like I showed you in the diagram, I have World Christmas Tree Live, and I generally call my top level stages World. That just tells me this is the stage that contains all the stages. And then I have these other two layers, which I mentioned earlier. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this master Christmas tree layer, and I'm going to drag it into my layer panel. Now, pro tip, nobody does it, but I always say it. If you're working with layers, split out your layer and your stage. You want to be able to see them both. It's really important, especially if you're the one driving things. It's really important. So, okay, so you can see I've already exported my my architectural stage from 3ds Max. Don't worry, I'll get in there and do some live sync in that later. But that's sort of the base geometry that we're going to be starting with here. And that, by the way, came from Architectural Interiors Volume 45 from TurboSquid. And I brought it in and I removed all the materials, and because we want to make our own version of it. But that's where that came from Evermotion. So awesome job to them. And then we're also going to be using this Christmas tree base. We're going to be redoing the ornaments and the presents and things like that. But this is by Pencil Box. It's also on Turbo Squid. We're also going to be using some SketchFab assets, which Terry will walk us through a little later. And good. So let's continue here. So I have Master Christmas Tree as a layer. I'm going to grab Master Arch here. I'm going to drag that in as a layer. And you can see that it comes in, just stack. When you drag in a new layer, the new layer you drag in is going to go on the top. You can reorder them if you want. But then what I want to do is I want to start some live sessions in these different layers. So I'm going to click on this lightning bolt and I'm going to say create session. And the session I'm going to create here is called Deck 9. And I should have turned off Slack. All right, so now the lightning bolts turn green. And I'm going to create a session in Master Christmas Tree as well. And that's going to be called Deck 9. And we want these to be separate. We don't want everybody to be in the same session pushing things to different stages. We want to really keep these separate. Because in essence, as we deck out this Christmas tree, we're going to be able to use that in multiple stages anywhere we want. And so we want to keep that isolated. So just give me a second here so we can quit that. Good. All right. So now what can happen is everybody can start joining these sessions that I've created. So Terry's going to join Master Arch, and Bub and Lee are going to join Master Christmas Tree. And you're going to see here, I get a notification. Kay Lombardi has joined the session.
That would be me.
And then, yep, Bubba has joined the session, Lee and Terry. Another indicator here is that I can see Terry has joined this in the layer panel, this session, Terry, Lee, and Bubba. Okay, so now really important here. This session is actually a .live file, .live stage. It's a USD file, more or less, that is taking all of whatever happens, whether it's a change, add geometry to this particular stage. It's all going into the session layer. Again, non-destructive. And at the end, you can decide, all right, I'm done now. Do I want to end and merge, or do I just want to leave? If I want to leave, then nothing changes. I can open it up, join that session again, and I'll see everything the way it was. And I'll show you an example of that later, or I can end and merge, which is going to push all the stuff that we did in the session layer back down into the main stage. All right, so all that being said, let's just fly over here. And let's see, Terry, let's go ahead, and you don't have to move it. I've changed the location of it. So can you throw some glass materials on the windows and maybe a wood material on the floor?
Sure, yeah. Let me grab let's grab a B material glass.
Okay.
Let's see, do a search. Find some glass. Let's do glass clear. We'll throw it here.
Yep.
Oh,
and when he
yeah.
when he updates that, you're going to see it update here in my stage. You can see the materials compiling, and then okay.
I need to get my avatar in here too.
Oh,
the glass,
yeah.
Looks like the glass is taking a moment, but it's definitely
yeah.
It's loading that material in now.
Okay. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is we want to add a tree, and the way we're going to do that is pretty fun. So I'm going to come in here to Master Christmas Tree. I'm going to open their file, and I'm going to say, okay, so we have Arch Empty Room, and I'm going to add the Christmas tree as a layer to their stage. Okay. Now, Wendy, you should be not on my view right now, because when I save this stage, it's going to push out a fetch notification to everybody saying, hey, sorry, to Bubba and Lee specifically, because they have the stage open, saying, hey, this stage has been updated do you want to fetch it or you just want to keep going the way you're going? And they're going to say fetch. And tell me if what I say is true.
Yeah, I got to fetch.
Okay.
I got a fetch. And
Great. So now back on my stage, Wendy, I am going to create another live session to that tree because Lee is going to do some Maya magic with the live connector. So boom, there is the tree. Add as a layer. I am going to pop back into my master stage now. I just wanted to jump in there and set that up. And so if I dig down now into master Christmas tree, then I can see that layer that's been added. And I just want to join that Deck 9 session I created for that one. Yeah, let's do Deck 9 instead of Lee's trees. Okay, Lee? Good. All right.
You're from Maya, right?
Yeah, from Maya. So now in Wendy, let's check out Lee's stage, and let's see what happens here with Maya.
Yeah, so I've joined the Christmas tree layer, right? That live session.
Yeah, you've opened Christmas tree, and now you're joining the Deck 9 session
from Maya.
And
Great.
I can see,
So,
and I can see that your icon is next to that session layer, so I know that you've joined it.
exactly. Great. So I'm going to go into Maya, and in this case, I've loaded the Create extension, this part of Omniverse, the connector rather, inside of Maya. And you can see if I click the lightning bolt icon, I get this join live session. This automatically brings up the active sessions that I have available to me. I'm just going to click on the one that Dave mentioned. It's going to reopen this or sort of reload this, and I will wait for just a second. So now I've got my tree. So what you'll see is that this thing's pretty dense, right? Lots of needles and things, and it might be a little bit difficult to populate with some ornaments. So what I did is, just to speed things up a little bit, I'm going to import a setup that I built earlier. And what you'll see is a stand-in object in the center of the scene. And I've got just a couple of ornaments already made at the bottom of the scene. And what I thought would be fun is just to position this right around the center of the tree. And you can kind of see where I'm headed with this. I want to
Lee,
scatter some objects.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah,
I just
sure.
want to let everybody know that everything Lee's doing now is updating in all of our stages.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Lee.
this is a way of working, again, collaboratively with Dave and Bubba and Terry, so they can kind of work in their own respective apps, and I can kind of keep the workflow that I'm used to inside of Maya and see that update inside of Create. So as I mentioned, I've got my dummy tree, my tree that's sitting sort of in the same world space or inside of the same space. I'm going to go ahead and hide that tree just so we can kind of see what's going on here. So I've got a few ornaments, and there's, like Dave said, I mentioned it a minute ago, there's 100 different ways that you could scatter objects onto another object, but I thought Bifrost would be perfect place for this. So instead of connecting all these nodes and showing you what happened, I just decided to kind of walk you really quickly through the graph. One of the things I really like about Bifrost is its ability to scatter things. And so I've got this scatter node, and I've separated out the ornaments. I've got the ropes and then this little cap shape so that I can separate later the different materials that I'm going to assign. Really, what was cool about this scatter node is the ability to maintain overlapping, to call overlapping geometry. So you can see if I just do this, like maybe I would do this in MASH, you get all these overlapping pieces of geometry, and that's not fun to try to sort out. So I can just click on call overlapping, and I can play around with the radius, and how close I want to maybe maintain those different objects. So from there, it's really easy to bake all this down to geometry, send this out to an output node, and then Bifrost lets us take this, split up my screen so that I can map out what my Bifrost network is doing. So here's the output from Bifrost. I'm sending that into a node that converts this to Maya geometry. just like that. Let's hide that and open up our finished geometry. Now, Dave is seeing all of this inside of Create, but we've got one problem that we want to sort of overcome, and that is to be able to have different ornaments on the tree. Right now, if we took this into Create, we'd wind up with the same ornament selection. You'd wind up with basically one piece of geometry. So an easy way to handle that is to just duplicate this, and then just for illustration purposes, we'll separate this. You can see that actually gets updated in Create. Maya's doing its thing right now. And once it gets finished separating all of those ornaments, it will come back to me. And what I get is this great list of ornaments that essentially becomes a selection set of random objects. So if I just select, say, the first 50 of these, you can see I can select those in that manner, and I can just go down to the next 50, assign those objects that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to collapse that, just hide these guys. Actually, let's keep the cap and the string so we can see those. We'll just move our object back into its original location. And then I can go over to Create, and I've got that same hierarchy available to me. And let's make sure we're showing the right thing. We just want to show the tree, right?
Yeah, let's change to my screen, Wendy.
Yeah.
So that everybody can see that I've been receiving these updates live. All right, thank you.
So now if I go to my stage, I've got my ornaments here. I can just select let's go around, I don't know, the top 50 ornaments roughly. And then I can go to my material library. And it just so happens we have like the perfect anodized material for Christmas ornaments. We'll just double click on that. And that's going to assign that to those first 50. Is that going to assign all 50? Yeah.
Well, let's try it.
Well, there's a couple of ways we can do it, right?
Terry, stop
yeah.
adding things for a moment, please.
Sure.
Okay, so try it again. Sometimes when everybody's doing something at the same time, it can get its signals crossed.
It looked like it picked the first couple.
Okay.
So one thing we could do is just bring the anodized shader in and just assign to selected. Let's make sure it brought that. Yeah, so it didn't actually bring that in. So you should be able to apply it to selected. And for some reason, it's just picking that last one. But basically, that's a quick way of picking random ornaments around the tree. You can see that there's only separate ones. And we're just running into a little bit of a goofiness there. If I apply the blue into the selected, it should pick those. Yeah, for some reason, I'm kind of stuck on this target.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to move on, and I'll straighten it out with my pre-baked one.
Yeah, that's good. Just disconnect or you can leave the Maya session now. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll get that squared away. So now this is looking good, but we want to see some environment action happening. So Terry, would you mind terribly to? And I'm seeing a mirror here on the glass. It's not actually glassy. Okay. So
I can change that.
Okay. So what we want to do, because right now we're in default lighting, and that really doesn't look very good. So let's perfect. Thank you. So let's go ahead and Terry's going to add a dome light for us.
Yep. So we just go up inside Create. We go to Create Light, Dome Light. And then from there, we can go into NVIDIA Assets. And under there, you can find a collection of skies. So let's grab Cloudy. And inside this dome light, we'll have a texture file parameter. And let's take this Table Mountain HDRI and drag it there into that texture file parameter.
Okay. So back on my screen, I'm saying, hey, Terry, you're doing all these things. I'm not seeing them. And the reason I'm not seeing them is because I'm in this default lighting mode. So if I change that from default lights to stage lights, then I can see, okay, everything's loading. It's looking a little better. The only thing I'd want to do, is slide that around so we can get some of that direct light in there.
How's that look?
Nice. Maybe clip the tree a little bit, get some good highlights. There we go. Yeah, that's awesome. And you can also see Terry has been dropping in some assets from the asset store, which we'll cover a little bit later. And the only thing I need now, Terry, is a roof.
Ah, okay. I'll get that put back on there. How about that?
Okay, fantastic. That's looking a little bit better. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to go into my render settings, and I'm going to go into post-processing. I see auto exposure is on, and I'm down at 3. And this is how you can adjust. So if it's dark and you want it to be lighter, you just slide your white point scale until you have something that looks good. Okay, awesome. So let's see. Room's looking a little barren. Terry, can you show people how to add some assets from our asset store, the NVIDIA asset store?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So here we have the NVIDIA Assets tab. We actually have 2 tabs, and I'll actually go to the asset store as well. Do you just want me to show SketchFab or just our assets first? So
our assets, and then do SketchFab.
okay, yeah. So like I took a sculpture here. This is from our asset store, but down here we have a huge collection of stuff that you can just grab for free and use in your scenes and build your own stages. So I would like to get a sculpture and maybe put a Christmas hat on it. So let's find decor, sculptures, and like for instance, we got this oval mask. Oh, I was in Prim Select when I moved that. So let's get that out of the way and let's put this oval mask in there. Maybe scale him up. Whoop, a little big. But as you can see, we have, my goodness, this is just residential, and you can see all the categories just for residential, like house plants. We could go over here and throw a house plant in there. Throw it outside, maybe see that through the window.
Got it.
Without protruding to the window. Yeah. And then we also have the asset store. And for instance, you can see here I'm on SketchFab. And as long as you have a SketchFab account and you sign in through Omniverse, you'll be able to go through one of these sort by price. And there's actually some free ones. You could buy some, but you can get very far with just all the free stuff in here. And for instance, you find something that you want, we can do a little search. Let's get a Christmas hat, put it on this statue here. So I've already downloaded it. Normally you would double click it, find the directory that you want to bring this into in your directory, and then it'll just let you drag it into the stage. Plop that right on his noggin. Right
nice Santa hat.
Get a little rotation. But yeah, there's tons. Milk and cookies. I mean, anything you can think of, it's just about in here. It's wild.
Awesome. So one thing I'm seeing is that the skylight is pretty strong. Can you drop down that intensity maybe a little bit?
Sure can. Let's go.
We can come back to my screen, Wendy. And Lee, it looks like you fixed up the old.
Yeah, I had one that was already finished, so I went ahead and dragged that in.
Perfect.
I already had those materials assigned, so.
Perfect. And I saw you drag it in and rotate it around. It looks great. So let's go ahead and let's get some light in here. So Lee, would you mind jumping in to the NVIDIA asset store and dragging in maybe a chair with an end table and a lamp on it? And we can stay on my screen, Wendy, so we can just watch that happen.
From the close to 2,000 different objects that are highly detailed and fantastically textured, if that's a word.
Exactly.
I think we decided on this Dutchtown chair that had some nice ornamentation on the wood and drag that in. I love how it highlights just the snapping object that it's going to go to. Just like that.
Nice.
Chair. Just where we want it. And then I think found a nice end table that sits next to it that works or just placing a lamp and giving ourselves a little bit of illumination, right?
Good.
Let's position my camera here and let's go down to the lighting section. I think there was a nice table lamp we can just do the same thing with. It'll snap right on top of the table there. Maybe it looks a little bit big. Let's scale it down just a tiny bit. There we go.
Beauty. Okay, that's awesome.
Piece of cake.
And while you're doing that, thanks, Lee. Terry is adding a clock to the wall, which is great. And can you de-intensify that maybe just
Yeah, you want to dial the light down?
just a touch more? Yeah. All right. So while you're doing that, we're going to switch over to Bubba's screen now because we have a tree, we have bulbs, but what we do not have are lights. So Bubba's going to give us some Christmas tree lights here.
That is correct. Hi, everybody. We need a little Christmas. So what we're going to do is put some lights on the tree, much in the same way that Lee was adding lights to, or I'm sorry, adding ornaments to the tree. I have here now two little assets that were also came from SketchFab, and I did a little work on them. So I have two separate little strings of lights that I've dropped on the floor just in front of the tree here. One is a string of two lights that have a red and a green, and then a second one that has the blue and the yellow. Now, I'm also going to use a template shape very similar to the one that Lee was using. Although Lee, I noticed about in the cone shape that you were using to paint your ornaments, the top of the cone was cut off. So if I were to use that same cone, I'm not going to be able to place lights on the top part of the tree. So I'm going to use this particular cone. And actually, Lee, is it possible for you to just move the ornaments? I don't want to knock them off the tree while I'm adding lights.
You want to hide them just so we don't see them?
Yeah,
Would that work?
do that. And
Yeah,
then
let's do
Dave,
that.
I don't know if you want to hide that cone while I'm working, you can feel free to do that as well. I need the cone in my view. I'm going to use a tool that is a paint tool inside of Create. And the paint tool will let me define a brush that uses 3D objects to define how to paint things. So I'm going to create a new brush. I've got the paint tool loaded over on the right panel there. I'm going to name the brush, and we'll just call it L1 for now. And it's going to be a scatter type brush. Notice there's an asset that's in a list here. I simply want to create a list of assets from the scene that are going to make this brush up. So I'm going to take the cube out of there, select the green and red light and the blue and yellow light, and add that as an asset to the brush list. So I've got those two assets that are listed there. We're going to select the cone because we want to use the tool to paint directly on the surface of the cone, and my brush size is really big. So I'm going to scale that way down to about maybe just below 10 units, and then we'll change the density of how many of those items get painted when we move the paintbrush and add these items. And I've just got these numbers that I know happen to work. So I'm just referencing a little note that I took here, and you'll see that I've got a little paintbrush that's right here on the edge of the cone. And when I paint, I'm going to paint lights on the tree.
Okay,
So,
pause, Bubba, pause.
yes,
And
sir.
then Wendy, can you switch to my screen now? And then we'll watch on my screen as Bubba paints. It'll just show
I
up.
could be at this for a while if I was just using the paintbrush to populate the entire cone with lights. So I'm going to make it easy. First, I'm going to use the flood tool. So first I'm going to erase using the flood tool all of the things that I had already done. Then I'm going to go back to the paintbrush and just hit the flood button a number of times, and we'll just keep adding and flooding the cone with the lights. Now it's easy for me to go back and use the brush just to pick up any areas and fill in the empty spots where the flood might leave behind some holes. Much like you would adjust the lights on your tree after you place them, you have to fill in the empty spots. So with that, here I've got a nice collection of lights. In fact, what I think and what is very useful is, in this case, the lights, if you look up close, the cord and the lights are fairly large for this size tree. So I can always select the original asset and just simply scale it down. And you'll notice if I scale it up or down, then I can pick a size that works better for this particular scale of trees. So I'm just going
So
to do
cool
that.
seeing that in real time.
Yeah, the other cool thing that you can do is even rotate them around. So if you want to orient the lights in a different way, here I'm just rotating those individual pieces as well. So those kinds of changes can be made after the fact because you're using a point instancer to add those assets to the tree. So how does that look?
That looks amazing. Thanks, Bubba.
Sure.
It's funny. It's funny to see your avatar flying around. Unfortunately, yours is the only one I'm seeing in here.
Okay. Maybe I was the only one who. Oh no, I see it. I know I saw Lee's floating around because you can't miss the elf icon
Yeah.
floating around the room.
Okay. All right. So that's great, man. So let's go ahead and. Oh, hey, we got the balls back. The bulbs. Nice.
Balls
Okay.
back.
We got the bulbs back. So let's go ahead now, and I think we're missing a topper for this tree, right? So perhaps I need to brighten up my screen. Perhaps Terry, you want to do? Oh, someone needs to bring in the topper, and then Terry will do the painter connector.
I'll bring the topper in.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
We're just going with the original topper, right?
Yeah, the original topper.
Yep.
All right. So now we just need to position it properly. So I'll just use transform tool to raise it up just a little bit. And let's see if we can get that in the right spot because maybe if I can get, let's see, Bubba, do you want to move your,
Avatar.
no, the stand-in object? I'm still
Yes.
seeing the cone.
I'll just hide it.
Yeah, just hide it. That'll work. So let's see. Did I get it on the top branch? I think there's one branch. I think I got it pretty good. What do you think, Terry? Is that
I like it.
all right? Cool.
Cool, yeah. So I'll stop placing books and I'll pull up my other instance of Create and the Substance Painter connector. So give me a moment here. And go into Substance Painter and then Create. So here we have the Substance Painter app on the left, and then we have another instance of Create. Right now I'm connected to the Substance Painter connector in both Substance Painter and Create. In order to get this, same as Create, you can go to the Omniverse launcher and go to Exchange and search for Painter, and you should see it in there. So we already had established a connection before the stream here, and Lee was gracious enough to model us a topper here in Maya and send it over to Omniverse as a USD. And so what I was able to do was able to import that USD straight out of Create. Painter's really awesome. It's come a long way with the connector. You can use it as a means to export an FBX or a USD into Omniverse and stay connected to Omniverse. You don't ever have to leave once you have your assets in there. You can just, push and pull USDs, make changes with textures, and have a ball. And so here I'll just go through a very quick, very basic overview. So the way I got this set up was over here in Omniverse. I went and I found Lee's topper USD. I came here and I made sure that I had matching port numbers here in Painter and in Create. And the way you do that is in Create, go to Window, make sure you have the Substance 3D Painter link checked. If you do not, you can go to Extensions and search for that to enable it. Then that should give you a Painter Live Link tab, which also has a port number. And so here I have 8111, and then in Painter I have the same. So we're good to go now. And all I had to do was simply click import, and it brought his USD file into Painter for me to edit. So now all I should have to do is check Live Link and texture like you normally would in Substance Painter, and the guys should see it in their stages. So let's go ahead and just add, I'll just use this aluminum spacey material since it's just right here in my face. So I'll apply that. You'll see it on my screen and Create. It's updated. And then hopefully in a moment, they'll get that change.
I got it.
Awesome.
Nice. So, Wendy, why don't you pop over to my screen here, and we will watch as Terry does some Substance Painter updates, and I get to see all the changes he's making.
Yep. So that's I'm going to make it gold, I think, here. So
Okay. Gold is good.
let's search for gold. Drag that over the top. Maybe we could punch some holes in it.
Yeah. There we go. Got the gold. Yeah, maybe some holes.
Oop. There we go. Couple here. Oops. All right, I'm going to add an opacity layer. Got to need to change our shader here, and then you also need to enable opacity. So we'll check that now. I should be able to turn opacity on this very bottom layer, and then we'll add some kind of grid-like material and find something under textures and throw that in the colors or the opacity slot. So drag and drop that here. Let's invert it, tile it a little bit. Maybe change the scale on these holes. How's that looking over there for you? Is that coming through?
Not coming through yet.
Looks like I've got it on my end here.
Oh, wait, do I?
I just erased some of those lights for you at the top so that they weren't hanging up in your topper there.
Huh.
Maybe add too many holes here.
Is it too dense, the UVs or something?
Yep. No, it should be good. It's got quite a few holes.
Okay. Are you getting it on your end?
Yep, getting it on my end.
Okay.
Could be something with the opacity and a cache issue there, since
Yeah.
I added a new texture slot.
Okay.
But
Well,
we'll take that away for now.
Yeah, naturally, and I would say this, but this has worked 100 times in a row, and when we've done this. But okay, cool, man. So this room is starting to come together. We got some furniture. We got a lamp. Hey, Lee, can you bump up the intensity on that lamp again?
Lamp again? Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's go ahead and kill the skylight, Terry.
Okay. Is that good?
I must be in a strange state because the skylight is not killed for me. Let's see.
The intensity update on the lamp?
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Yeah. It just took a second.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little brighter.
Yep.
More bright. More bright. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, awesome. So so things are looking pretty good here. Terry's going to add some art to the wall, and what we really need now is, well, we need curtains, but besides that, we need some lights on this tree. Some actual lights. So, Bubba, why don't you walk us through that light workflow?
Great. It's exactly, it's not exactly, but very similar to the workflow that we use for the string of lights. And in this case, I have another object that I've placed just below the floor. And here we're just going to get out of my painting tool. I have these 4 light sources that I've added to the scene, and you should be able to see them there.
I see
them
them.
on the floor. So I'm just going to use this. Yeah. So I'm going to use those 4 lights. They're small. They have a very small radius on them, and not a very big throw distance. But we're going to make a new brush using the paint tool the same way that we did before. So go back to the paint tool. I'm going to create a new brush, and this time we'll name it something original, so that we'll create a new one from scratch. I'm going to select each one of those 4 lights individually, and add them to the asset list for that new brush that I'm creating. And so I've got 4 lights in there now. And instead of painting the actual surface of the cone, and we still have this very large brush, so I'm going to find the values that work for this. We're going to flood this surface with those lights. So we're going to scale down the brush down very small to about 8 units, just below 10, something around this area. We're going to change the density to be very subtle, and then we're going to change the stamp interval to add a certain number across the surface as we hit the flood button, and just make sure that we're going to change one key thing. Instead of using a point instancing tool to place a copy of the geometry of the lights at each point that gets instanced, we're actually going to instance the asset randomly of all of the lights. So by just hitting the flood button, if everything's set up properly, what I should have is a collection of lights that I want to make sure I see them when they show up on my screen. I'm going to hit the flood button, and those lights get added. Let me do one thing. Sorry, one thing to double check.
So,
Just bear with me one sec.
okay. All right. So, Terry, I can see that you've been adding some more SketchFab assets in here, which look awesome.
Thanks.
Yep. And the light, this light painting thing is super cool. And if we've hit some kind of an ism here, then I'll show you. I'll toggle back to another session. I can show you what the finished stage looks like. It looks really good.
I think I'll be able to get there pretty quick.
You are or not?
I'm going to give it one more shot here.
Okay.
I'm gonna add some pictures to the wall here.
Okay.
while he's doing
Wait.
it.
Well, okay. So, Bubba, just let us know when you click the flood button, and then we don't want.
Oh, so yeah, gotcha.
And so, Terry, you're going to add some lights to the
Yeah.
wall.
I was gonna
Or
add
art to the
a
wall?
painting up
Yeah,
over where
yeah.
Lee put that
Yeah,
really cool chair.
that'll look really good. Oh yeah, sweet.
Frame that
Okay,
up.
I'm about to hit the flood button one more time and see what we get here.
All
All
right.
clear.
It looks like we're going to have to cancel that.
Okay, we're in a mode. All right, cool. So we have
100
about 9.
times yes, one time no.
Yeah, of course. We have about 10 minutes left here in the stream, so I'm gonna just slide this over so everybody can see. And this is actually a pretty good example. Yeah, get out of here. Pretty good example of why layers are so awesome. So in the previous sessions for this stage, so I'm in my layer panel here, and I can leave this session. And when I leave this session, then all of the changes that were made in the Christmas tree session are gone because they lived in that particular session. I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave the this one too. And yes, that's fine. And you're going to see the Christmas tree is still there. Good. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to join one of our previous sessions here. Like, how about Deck 8 New? Let's join that. Very possible there are a lot of things loading up here. Okay, interesting. Okay, what if I come here and I'm going to leave Master Arch and I'm going to do this other, going to join the other session here, which was Decade New. So you can see all of the decor is gone. Oh, Dave Tyner, my fault. So I'm sorry, everybody. I moved. Terry, can you move that building down?
Yeah.
I did some surgery.
You're in my session, right? I think it showed you join.
Yes.
Okay, so the building didn't move for me, but bring it on down.
I'll bring it on down.
Okay.
Okay, where's my stage? Stage. My bad. This is on Dave, this particular thing. Go back, we're going to drop it on down. And we're going to slide it on in and bring it on up. Yes. And then we're just going to line that up just like we designed it. And then bring that up like that. So had I not changed the source, then everything would have been fine on that. But basically, just to show you that it totally did work. We had the Christmas tree lights; they were painted and flooded, and it all looked super beautiful. And for some reason, Terry, I'm not getting. Oh, yeah, because I also changed the source geometry. So another thing, good. So this is a good lesson. When you change the path to an object, you break the links. So USD is all path-based. So it's looking for a path in the stage. So in this case, world, arch, and then something. And if I change that path, then it's going to break the link to previous sessions. Now I know how to fix this. I could go through and spend 10 minutes doing it, but I'm not going to do it. What I am going to do, what am I going to do here?
I did get the lights to work in that on my side, Dave. If you
oh, you did?
Yeah, if you can go back to that session, you'll be able to see it.
Okay. Good. So here will be a great lesson on how to untangle yourself. So I'm going to leave these sessions. I'm going to join.
Hit the reference column, Bubba.
Join. And I'm going to join World Christmas Tree. Join. 9. Go.
This is the only Christmas tree I can have. I don't have room enough in my apartment, so I've got to have this one on the screen for the next 20 days.
There you go.
Okay. Hey, look, it worked. Okay. So another thing, and this is actually really good, because you saw me move the building earlier. So when I moved it, you see I have my root layer, which is my authoring layer, and your authoring layer is the layer that contains all of the changes that you make or the stuff that you add. So you can see these little triangles next to these prims. Those are changes that I made, and those are called deltas. The objects that don't have triangles are actually prims that live in the stage itself. So those aren't changes. I actually created those in this stage. So you can see down here I have this arch, and that arch delta contains the change that I made by moving the building. So the way that this works is if I right-click on this guy and I say delete delta, then the room pops in back to place because I have removed the change that I made to that thing on my layer. So that's
very non-destructive.
Very non-destructive. And so I can move around here. And by the way, I'm moving around with my my gamepad, my Xbox game controller. And that's between my PS4 controller and my Xbox controller, I definitely prefer the Xbox controller. Oh, hey, nice. So Bubba's making changes to those lights in real time there?
Yep, I'm just changing some of the radius on some of the lights just to give them all the same size. But you know, a red light and a blue light don't travel as far as yellow and green, as we all know. So I may want to adjust that once I get the radius all consistent. And you guys are seeing it in the context of the whole scene. I am not. So hold on, let me just, yeah, we can always make it stronger on one color or another. If you want me to brighten up one particular color, like I know, Dave, you were partial to the blue when we were rehearsing yesterday.
Yeah.
Bring that up. Does that help?
A little bit. It's gonna have to be brighter, and I'm gonna have to change my render settings here. So if I F11, by the way, toggles full screen, and if I go here and I just want to kind of darken up in my post-process settings, darken up the room, yeah, so that we really get some accentuation on that light. All right, and then hit that red and hit that
Yep,
yeah, hit that green.
right.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. And then I can even go in and I can change to path trace mode. And Terry, if you stop moving around, and if everybody stops moving and changing things, so you see the path trace resolves until somebody changes something. So an avatar moving or a change made to the lights or anything is going to force an update of the path tracer, and that's why you see it turn muddy for a second. But yeah, that looks really, really nice. And then of course, obviously we can keep going with this. We can add couches and rugs and presents and more stuff to the walls. But yeah, so I hope this was helpful to everybody in terms of how you collaborate on a stage using layers connected to external tools. And yeah, I think anybody closing thoughts, questions, Edmar from the gallery? Oh, did Edmar have? Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Nice. And you can see we've got some presents there. Lee looks like he's using our randomizer tool to create some presents, slide them around. That's awesome. Yeah, let's show his screen so people can see that tool.
Throw that in and maybe do maybe we could do an array. We do an array tool. Oh, that's a lot. Let's throw in a lot of presents. Why not?
I love the array tool. It's so fun.
It's been a banner Christmas this year.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. We can even do like a chorus line Christmas with all the presents. Maybe that's a little bit too much. That'll work. And once we get that done, then we can take the same ones we just created, throw the randomizer tool on it again. A little bit nuts. Here we go.
Nice.
See it all happen in real time. I love the reflections more than anything. I think that's worth just pausing and looking at RTX. Goodness. Yeah, it's fun. They're scattered all over the place.
Looks like the kids got into them.
Yeah,
Totally. Or the dogs.
Yeah, the dogs. Or in Terry's case, the pig.
Yeah.
Terry's got a pet pig.
He's fun.
Okay, so I guess that will wrap this one up for us. I want to thank all my collaborators for the time and putting this all together, and obviously SketchFab and TurboSquid for the assets, and then Autodesk and Substance, Adobe Substance for the connection to the tools and the awesome support. And hope you guys learned something.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks for having us. This was fun.
Yeah, really.
No problem. Yeah, we need to do this more often.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.